Hey, Steve Saretsky here. This is the Friday recap video. So as always, I gotta basically try to do these every Friday, putting out recapping basically what's happening in the Vancouver real estate market, in the Canadian real estate market, anything that might sort of affect the markets, basically some on-the-ground stories, etc. So that's coming to you every Friday. Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you like these videos, whatever, subscribe, hit the thumbs up, always appreciate that. Also, comment below, like to obviously hear your feedback and get into the discussion, you know, with you guys, banter back and forth. You know, that's obviously, I think it's some very valuable things. You can sort of get different perspectives in there, you know, whether you're bullish or bearish. So, I mean, a couple things off the top. You know, I've obviously talked about how hot this sort of the condo market is, obviously particularly looking at the Vancouver numbers, because I think that's sort of generally whatever's happening in Vancouver is happening elsewhere, whether that's Richmond, Burnaby, you know, the Fraser Valley, etc. And so if you look at Vancouver condo inventory, I believe in August, the inventory for one-bedroom condos was down 53% year over year. So 53%. So, you know, again, like, if you really want to get an understanding of the market, this is the crux of it right now, is the inventory, because there's so much demand at that one bedroom, at that entry level point, you know, right? So like, obviously, again, like, I've been very vocal about this. I think this demand right now is it's not like a normal demand. It's demand that's fueled by, you know, obviously the credit environment that we're in with, you know, I mean, this record high credit growth, etc. You know, these massive mortgages that people are having to take out, etc., just to get into the market. And you obviously have there's a speculative mania involved, where there's an ingrained belief, well, obviously when prices have gone up as much as they have, that prices will continue to rise. And so it's basically you're willing to pay, what we're seeing is from a lot of buyers, is they're willing to pay basically any price to get into the market, because they're not worried, you know, I'll worry about it next year when prices are going to go up further, so, you know, just get in now. So what you're basically seeing is like a purge of one bedroom inventory. You know, condo inventory in general is, I think it's at the lowest it's been in the last 12 years, but for one bedroom inventory, it's like literally like, it's just like at rock bottom, like there's like nothing available. So like, you'll find that if you're currently in the market looking for a one bedroom or a studio apartment, like, it's multiple offers, there's, you know, crazy open houses, those things are gone in a matter of, you know, a couple days, a weekend, whatever. So yeah, the one bedroom condo inventory in Vancouver is down 53% year over year. It's the lowest it's been in the last 12 years. That's as far as my database today goes back. Obviously, actually working on some pretty cool stuff right now. Working on a database right now. We're gonna be able to basically run a whole bunch of these really interesting queries. It's gonna be top notch, and that's obviously the whole goal of it, is to provide you with some more value. You know, you guys watching, reading the blog, etc., to, you know, really just provide some insights on the market, and then ultimately it's up for you to determine and interpret how you want to, you know, use that data, right? So I never try to persuade anyone into buying or selling, because I don't want to be the guy that's going to tell people to time the market, right? So or help them time the market, because I just simply can't do that, right? Like, I could have. It was frothy back in 2015. I could have called the top back in 2015. But obviously, I'll continue to keep you updated on every single event, every single data point, to allow you to make the most informed decision in this market. So yeah, Vancouver condo inventory, obviously, again, being down 53%. That's really what is pushing prices to continue to push upwards. Now, I don't know at what point does that ceiling hit, where it's no longer feasible, and that's why you have condo prices pushing up further and further into the valley. You know, New Westminster getting up to around 800 a foot. You're seeing some new projects get even closer to like 900 a foot. Out in Surrey, Waller, that area has really taken off over the last year. And so people are basically, as prices continue to escalate and people are getting priced out, they're getting pushed further and further out. And I've talked about that numerous times. you know, which really ultimately leads me to, right, again, I sort of said that you sort of had this, you know, speculative mania where it doesn't really matter what the cost is as long as you can get your hands on anything. It doesn't even have to be like a tangible product. We're talking about assignment contracts. I've talked about, you know, the amount of assignments right now that you're seeing is just like completely off the charts. And it's continuing to rise and rise and rise. You're seeing people basically flip these assignment contracts. I talked about Kensington Gardens project on the east side here in Vancouver. There was, I think last I looked, it was about 16% of the building has been assigned. It has either been assigned or is in the process of being assigned. 16% of the building. So, and again, and that project's, you know, about a year away still. So, you know, that could maybe inch up to 20, 25%. And now I'm just getting a message from one of the realtors I'm buddies with over in Langley, Tim Saretsky. I'll give you the shout out here. It's not similar to Saretsky, but it's Tim Saretsky, a good realtor if you're looking out in Langley. He was just telling me a project in Langley, townhouse project in Langley called the Wexley. 24% of the units in Langley have either been assigned or flipped. So they've already been either assigned or they're on the MLS and in the process of trying to assign it. So 24% of that building. Now I don't know much about that building, but what I can tell you is with the area. I mean, this isn't a foreign capital investment. This isn't these projects out in Langley. Those aren't marketed offshore. Those are all local buyers. I don't know if they're friends and family of the developer. Obviously, that helps have those connections, but in the suburbs, like, this is all local. So you have, you know, 24% of a project in Langley being assigned. That sort of just tells you, like, that is not, to me, that's not a normal, healthy number. Again, this is what happens when you have the mentality where we've had prices, you know, really rise to the point that they have over the last couple of years, is that the thought of even prices flatlining is unheard of for most people if you actually have that discussion with sort of your average typical person out there. So yeah, I mean, that's interesting. That's something I'm looking at. Again, I'm going to look through these numbers further and further as I sort of create this database, so I'll be able to come up with some more numbers for you. But you know, this is just preliminarily manually going through it and looking at the numbers. He's got 24% in Langley. Like I said, I had 16% in Vancouver, so it could actually be worse in the suburbs for some of these pre-sale developments. You know, and again, ultimately, just going sort of back to that one-bedroom whole thing, I think the Stats Can just came out with their incomes. I think that the median household income, family income, was $72,000. So it went slightly up to $72,000. And I believe that's pre-tax. So, like, you know, I think those numbers, to me, they sound a little below. But again, even if you push it up to say, let's be generous and say it's 100,000. Obviously, again, with these prices, and I get the counter argument. I think that you know, the metric, you can definitely take them into extent to some degree, but I think it is an equity-driven market. Like, all the first-time buyers that I work with, that I see in the market, etc., are all getting help from, like, parents, all gifted down payments, whatnot. So there's a lot of equity, there's a lot of money in the market. Obviously, like, a lot of foreign capital distorting things, but, like, from a local's perspective, if the incomes are truly $72,000, you know, there's obviously a lot of leverage involved, and anyways, there's just a lot of factors to look at. Those are the latest Stats Can numbers. You can look into them, you can not, you can sort of push them to the side and say they don't matter, because ultimately, like I said, you know, done many videos on this before, the home has essentially become, you know, the ATM. It basically, you know, you can see the amount of home equity lines people are drawing out, etc. They're basically funding lifestyle out of that because equity has just been going up and up and up over the last couple of years. But you know, obviously you have to cash out to get that equity, but that's another video, another story. Yeah, so that's basically what I got. The one-bedroom market continues to be just, you know, the condo market in general, but one-bedrooms are just obscenely competitive. Everyone's just trying to get into the market, and so that's why you've seen that huge purge of inventory at the one-bedroom level. Assignments, obviously, Vancouver, you know, I think in Vancouver the big story was, okay, well, a lot of these projects are being sold offshore. Like, of course, you know, these people are speculating. They don't even care. They're just flipping. They're not paying income tax, whatever. But now you're seeing it in Langley again, 24% in Langley. I think that is an extremely telling sign that there's a lot of local speculation, not just speculation from foreign capital. And this is something that I've really been harping on as well. And then obviously the income's coming out. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I was actually just talking to, I'm going to wrap this up here, but I was talking to a really good tax accountant today that, you know, worked primarily in the real estate field, and said, yeah, he was dealing with a lot of, in basically 07, 08, 09, when the market was really hot. Obviously 09 it started to come down, but working with a lot of assignments, clients that had assignments, and what was happening was, you know, CRAs, they're not completely clueless. They figured it out, and they were really going after people for not declaring capital gains. Actually, some of these assignments you actually be argued at is you actually can be paid on income, not just on capital gains. It really just depends. It's sort of a gray area, but you know, even a lot of these people aren't paying capital gains on assignments, but you definitely have to pay that. And so, you know, we even saw this latest project on Cambion Marine that was just in the news about a month ago, where CRA is taking that developer to court to get them to basically give out their list of buyers of that project, because they want to go through and see, okay, you assigned this, you bought, you assigned, you didn't pay capital gains. So they're starting to go after people aggressively, and I think that to me, it seems like a pretty easy tax grab. I mean, a lot of this, somebody's got records of it, whether it's on the MLS, brokerages, or developers. There's that information out there, and when you have 24% of a building being flipped, you know, I would imagine there's a lot of capital gains taxes being avoided. So I think this is going to be a huge tax hunt for the CRA. I think a lot of people that, if you are assigning it, just understand that you do have to pay capital gains tax at a minimum, and it could, depending on your situation, you know, I'm not a tax lawyer, tax accountant, but it could actually be taxed on your actual income. Anyways, that's all I got. If this video was helpful, again, hit the subscribe button, thumbs up, comment below. And last but not least, I'm going to try to put some links, as always, in the description below. So check those out, and I'll see you next Friday.